Hello everyone, today we are going to cover chapter number 6 summary of Shreemad Bhagwad Geeta, and it starts like this. The Supreme Lord said, "One who performs the prescribed duty without seeking its fruit only for the personal enjoyment is a renunciant and a karma yogi. One who does not become sannyasi merely by not lighting the fire, and one who does not become a yogi merely by abstaining from work. O Arjun, what they call renunciation is also known as karma yoga. No one becomes a karma yogi who has not renounced the selfish motive behind an action. For the wise who seeks to attain yoga of meditation or calmness of mind, karma yogi is said to be the means. For the one who has attained yoga, the calmness becomes the means of self-realization. A person is said to have attained yogic perfection when one has no desire for sensual pleasures or attachment to the fruits of the work, and has renounced all selfish motives behind any action. One must elevate and not degrade oneself by one's own mind. The mind alone is a free, one's friend as well as one's enemy. The mind is the friend of those who have control over it, and the same minds act as enemy for those who does not have control over it. One who has control over the lower self, the mind and senses, is tranquil in heat and cold, in pleasure and pain, and in honor and dishonor, and remains ever steadfast with the Supreme Self. A person is called yogi who has both self-knowledge and self-realization, who is calm, who has control over the mind and senses, and to whom a clod, a stone, and gold are the same. A person is considered superior who is impartial towards companions, friends, enemies, neutrals, arbiters, haters, relatives, saints, and sinners. A yogi seated in the solitude and alone should constantly try to contemplate the Supreme Being after bringing the mind and senses under control and becoming free from desires and proprietorship. One should sit on his or her own firm seat that is neither too high nor too low, covered with dry grass, a deer skin, and a cloth, one over the other in a clean spot, sitting there in a comfortable position and concentrating the mind on God, controlling the thoughts and activities of the senses. One should practice meditation for self-purification. One should sit by holding the waist, spine, chest, neck, and head erect, motionless and steady. Fix the eyes and the mind steadily in the front of the nostrils without looking around. Make your mind serene and fearless. Practice celibacy, having the mind under control. Think of me and have me as the supreme goal. Thus, by always practicing to keep the mind fixed on me, the yogi whose mind is subdued attains peace of nirvana and comes to me. This yoga is not possible, O Arjun, for the one who eats too much or who does not eat at all, who sleeps too much or keeps awake, but for the one who is moderate in eating, recreation, working, sleeping, and waking. The yoga of meditation destroys all sorrow. The person is said to have achieved yoga, the union with the eternal being, when the perfectly disciplined mind becomes free from all desires and gets completely united with God in samadhi. A lamp in the spot sheltered by the eternal being from the wind of desires does not flicker. This smile is used for the subdued mind of a yogi practicing meditation on the eternal being. When the mind, disciplined by the practice of meditation, becomes steady, one becomes content with the eternal being by beholding him with purified intellect. One feels infinite bliss that is perceivable only through the intellect and is beyond the reach of the senses. After realizing the eternal being, one is never separated from the absolute reality. After self-realization, one does not regard any other gain superior to self-realization. Established in self-realization, one is not moved even by the greatest calamity. The state of severance of union with sorrow is called yoga. This yoga should be practiced with a firm determination and without any mental reservation. One gradually attains tranquility of mind by totally abandoning all selfish desires, completely restraining the senses from the sense objects by the intellect, keeping the mind fully absorbed in the eternal being by means of a well-trained and purified intellect, and thinking of me. Wheresoever this restless and unsteady mind wanders away during meditation, one should just witness it under the supervision of the self. Supreme bliss comes to a self-realized yogi whose mind is tranquil, whose desires are under control, and who is free from sin. Such a sinless yogi who constantly engages his or her mind and intellect with the eternal being easily enjoys the infinite bliss of contact with God. Because of perceiving the omnipresent eternal being abiding in all beings and all beings abiding in the eternal being, a yogi who is in union with the eternal being sees every being with an equal eye. Those who perceive me in everything and behold everything in me are not separated from me, and I am not separated from them too. The non-dualists who adore me as abiding in all beings abide in me irrespective of their mode of living. One is considered the best yogi who regards every being like oneself and who can feel the pain and pleasures of others as one's own, O Arjun. Arjun said, O Krishna, you have said that the yoga of meditation is characterized by the calmness of mind. But due to restlessness of mind, I do not perceive the steady state of mind, because the mind indeed is very unsteady, turbulent, powerful, and obstinate, O Krishna. I think restraining the mind is as difficult as restraining the wind. The Supreme Lord said, undoubtedly, O Arjun, the mind is restless and difficult to restrain, but it is subdued by the constant, vigorous spiritual practice with perseverance, self-knowledge, and detachment, O Arjun. In my opinion, yoga is difficult for the one whose mind is not subdued. However, yoga is attainable by the person of subdued mind by striving through proper means. Arjun said, the faithful who deviates from the path of meditation and fails to attain yogic perfection due to unsubdued mind, what is the destination of such a person, O Krishna? Does he not perish like a dispersing cloud, O Krishna, having lost both worldly and heavenly pleasures, supportless and bewildered on the path of self-realization? O Krishna, only you are the able to completely dispel this doubt of mine, because there is none other than you who can dispel this doubt. The Supreme Lord said, there is no destruction, O Arjun, for a yogi either here or hereafter. A spiritualist is never put to grief, my dear friend. The unsuccessful yogi is reborn in the house of pious and prosperous after attaining heaven and living there for many years. Or such a yogi is born in a family of enlightened yogis. A birth like this is very difficult indeed to obtain in this world. There, a yogi regains the knowledge acquired in the previous life and strives again to achieve perfection, O Arjun. The unsuccessful yogi is instinctively carried towards the eternal being by virtue of the impressions of yogic practices of previous lives. Even the inquirer of yoga with union of God surpasses those who perform Vedic rituals. The yogi who diligently strives becomes completely free from the sins or imperfections after gradually perfecting through many incarnations and reaches the supreme abode. The yogi is superior to the ascetics. The yogi is superior to the scholars. The yogi is superior to the ritualists. Therefore, O Arjun, be a yogi. I consider the yogi devotee who lovingly contemplates me with supreme faith and whose mind is ever absorbed in me to the best of all yogis. So चैप्टर नंबर 6 समरी श्रीमद् भगवद गीता का यहाँ पे एंड होता है. और अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छी लग रही हो तो चैनल को ज़रूर से सब्सक्राइब कर देना. और मुझे 1 लाख सब्सक्राइबर्स तक पहुँचना है 1000 वीडियोज़ डालने से पहले तक. अभी मैं 870 वीडियो के राउंड में डाल चुका हूँ अभी तक, बट मुझे 1000 से पहले 1 लाख सब्सक्राइबर्स तक पहुंचना है. तो अगर आपको ये वीडियो अच्छा लग रहा हो तो प्लीज़ चैनल को ज़रूर से सब्सक्राइब कर देना. ओके जी.